And when you trust God in what he says, and you trust that his word is final authority, you obey him. Case in point, I wasn't going to share this, but I'm going to share this. We're believing God for $1,000 extra a week here at Echo Church, okay? And I'm not ashamed to tell you that's what we're believing God for. And I hope and I trust that you're believing God with us throughout the week too, still praying about it. But God spoke to me and he says, he told me, he said, I want you to plant $1,000 into another church. At Echo Church. Not personally, he dealt with me in some other stuff, but I'm talking about specifically here at Echo Church. And that doesn't compute. My reasoning saying, wait, we want and need $1,000 extra. Why are we giving it to another church who, by what I can see on the outside, doesn't need it? And I'm arguing with God, and I'm over here preaching you just obey, 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 obey. And God says, are you going to obey me or not? Because I have something waiting for you, but I have something here that's this answer to your problems, but I'm waiting for you to let go so I can let go. And when I sent that money, and I didn't write a check, I didn't send it by mail. I did it electronically because I wanted it as fast as possible in that other church. I wanted it as fast as possible. And let me tell you something, we've done that periodically in the last couple of years, given to other churches and other ministries. I can name all of them, but I'm not here to name drop. But anyways, and as soon as we gave that $1,000, and when I say we, yes, I may be the steward of the money, but it's us together. And I obey God, okay? I don't wait for a vote in the church. I obey God right away, okay? And that's a whole nother mess. But anyways, so I sent it right away. That next day, that next night is when we had $3,000 given to us extra that week. Well, I'm trying to tell you guys, this thing works, but we have to put faith and action. I keep telling you, pray and have faith for $1,000 extra a week, and God's asking me to do one simple thing and give $1,000 to another church. And it wasn't until I put my faith and our action together did we get that extra income. And it goes through all throughout different things. Yes, I'm specifically talking about finances, but it's talking about all kinds of things. Okay? When we first started, we had Saturday night service. I hated it, by the way. Just letting you know. I'm not an evening person. I'm a very early morning person. I wish it was the other way around, but it just isn't, okay? So we had Saturday night service, and we're doing it by faith, and you know, just... So what I did is I decided that since I am going to speak on Saturday nights, I'm going to take advantage of our church not being full Sundays, and I am going to go and I'm going to get fed, and I'm going to go to another church. But I'm not just going to go to that church. I'm going to give to that church, but I'm not just going to give to that church. I'm going to help them as often as I can, because I didn't want to overdo myself and get exhausted. I played an instrument for their praise and worship team. I was on schedule every other week or something like that. I did that as planting a seed, putting faith to my action. And I haven't seen the full manifestation of it yet, but I have seen the manifestation. Our team is growing. Our team is growing. I had to do that out of obedience. I didn't feel like waking up early in the morning. I didn't feel like going to extra practices throughout the week, learning songs and things like that. In my mind, I put those things off. Like, God, this is what you want me to do. I'm going to focus on this, and I'm going to do my best at it. And so I did that. So we're still, that manifestation is coming. God works by faith on the inside. Satan works by feeling on the outside. God works by faith on the inside. Satan works by, did I say that wrong? God works by faith on the inside. Satan works by feelings on the outside. Sometimes I'm already thinking 4 steps ahead before I finish the one that's coming out of my mouth, so I get a little twisted sometimes. Sometimes we don't feel like it. Sometimes we get hurt. I've been hurt. I've been hurt by church people, and you know what? I'm still here. When I say I've been hurt by church people, I'm talking about my family. My dad, my mom, my brothers, my sister. I've been hurt by them. But I got to learn to look past that and see that the love that is coming from them. They may mess up. They may screw up, they may have said something wrong, and we'll come to each other and we'll apologize, we'll make amends and all that kind of stuff. But I was reading an article, was it this morning or yesterday morning? I can't remember which it was. But people leaving church because the pastor spoke, they're too judgmental. Well, you came to the church for advice, and when you got the advice you didn't want to hear because it messed with your feelings on the outside, you leave the church. But yet what you don't realize, it wasn't the pastor that was talking, it was the Holy Spirit through the pastor that was talking. Wow, that was a loud mouthful. That was not me, okay? I did not write that down, so you'll have to go back and watch that. The change we want begins inside of us first. Let's say it's financial, because we've been talking about that. Let's say it's financial. I have to first build up my faith and put action to it in order for it to happen, right? That's what I said. Faith comes from the inside. Remember I said that earlier? It doesn't come from this up here. Faith is a heart thing. Doubt and fear and unbelief come from up here. That's why we have to be careful not to be so involved in our feelings. We preach this in public schools. Just do what makes you feel good. And that's the problem that we have now. There's days I don't feel like going to work. There's days where I don't feel like talking to people. There's days where I just feel like, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. My Daisy, she met somebody at a job she had that I can't go through all the specifics, but he was having some issues. And he wanted to take his whole company down with him. He wanted to shoot up the place. Yeah. He wanted to shoot up the place, and they're like, oh, yeah, you know what? I think we're going to hire him. No. He's got some things he's got to work on. He's got to get outside of his feelings. There's times where I just want to punch people in the face for cutting me off on the side of the road, flicking me off. When we first moved here, I had an old lady flick me off. First, I wanted to get out and slap her, and then I started laughing about it. It was hilarious, because she was the one that ran the light, not me. Anyways, nobody ever feels like that, right? Sometimes I feel like slapping somebody who comes and asks me the same question that I've already answered that I answered in preaching, or that I answered in a private conversation 3 or 4 times, and they keep coming with me and still asking that question. I just want to slap them across the head and say, are you listening? Are you listening? No one ever feels like that. Sometimes I feel like that with my kids. I have to repeat the same thing over and over and over and over. And they're like, well, Dad, how do you want me to do it? If I had a specific way of doing it, I would have explained it to you. As a teenager, or as a person, forget being a teenager, as a person, you got to learn to figure it out on your own. All right. They're laughing, so I had to say it. All right. See, faith attacks at the source of growth. Faith attacks at the source of growth. Let me explain this to you. We're talking about seeds earlier. Seeds, when they're in the ground, grow down first, because that is the source of their growth on the outside. But it all happens in ground, inside the ground, where you don't ever see it. So faith starts or attacks at the source of growth. Fear and doubt is like weed killer to your faith. In case you don't know, I'm a landscaper. I did a lot of landscaping maintenance. That's why I'm using these terminologies. All right. Doubt and fear is weed killer to your faith. Before you can say it with your mouth, you must first have authority in your heart. And I'm going to give you an example of that found in Mark chapter 9. Mark chapter 9. Now, Jesus is preaching, obviously, and he goes to this town, and as he's preaching, someone comes up to him and says, my daughter is dying, can you come with me? And this crowd of people follow Jesus to see what's going to happen with this young girl, with this young lady. And people are, I don't know if you've ever been to a concert or waited outside for a concert, or I'm sure at the Denver, when they had their championship, which is awesome, by the way. I bet there's so many people down there on top of each other. If you're me, I'm claustrophobic. Just get out of my way. And I have that instinct, that punk rock instinct in me to start doing mosh pits, Anyways. And I'm always going like this. And people are like, why are you touching your butt? I'm making sure my phone and my wallet are still there. You know what I mean? Because I have issues, I know. So there's all these people crowding around Jesus to see what he's doing because they've heard the fame of Jesus. So they're all about what's trending, what they can see. They weren't really about who Jesus was, but about what Jesus can do. So he's going on in verse 24. So Jesus went with him. And we're not talking about this little girl. We're going to talk about another story. A large crowd followed and pressed around him. A woman was there who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years. 12 years. She was bleeding for 12 years. She was weak. She was frail. All right? That's important that we get that. She had suffered a great deal under the care of many doctors. I don't know about you, but I've been there. I've been in the hospital where they come wake you up every so many hours and give you a shot in the stomach so you don't develop blood clots. They're the worst. And they're like, why do you look like you're not getting any sleep? Because you keep waking me up and poking me with the needle, man. All right, sorry. I'm a little salty there, okay? She had suffered a great deal under the care of many doctors and had spent all she had. Yet instead of getting better, she grew worse. When she had heard about Jesus, she came up behind him in a crowd and touched his cloak. Now, let's just stop there for a second. This is Mark's version of the story of what happened. Matthew has another version. Luke has another version. If you really need to kind of read all three of them to get a real clear picture of what really happened. Matthew says it this way. Well, I'll just keep reading. She touched the cloak of his garment because she thought, if I just touched his clothes, I will be healed. Matthew puts it this way. She said to herself that if I touch just his clothes, I will be healed. Remember, there is a huge crowd around Jesus. Okay? She has to make her way, weak and frail. I'm sure she got pushed down, stepped on, trampled over, but she still made her way to Jesus. She didn't give up. She didn't quit. I'm sure she felt like it. I'm sure her feelings were like, why am I even doing this? It's never going to happen for me. Why am I even doing this? But she was determined. No matter what, I'm going to do this. Even though she got worse, sometimes it feels like it's going to get worse before it gets better. And that is an attack from the enemy to get you to quit and stop right before you get your miracle. All right. So all I got to do is touch his clothes and I will be healed. Immediately, her bleeding stopped and she felt in her body that she was freed from her suffering. She felt in her body that she was free from her suffering. That I underlined it, circled it. That word felt is a physical manifestation of an internal work that was in her. She got the physical healing, but she first had to get it in here. She had to fight for what she knew. She knew that she knew. No matter what the crowd was telling her, no matter the crowd was ignoring her, hurting her feelings, literally physically hurting her, stepping on her, she said, no, I know that I know that I know that I know. This is faith. That if I touch the hem of his garment, I will be healed. She was putting action to her faith. And she got her miracle. Verse 30, at once, Jesus realized that the power had gone out from him. He turned around to the crowd and asked, who touched my clothes? You see the people crowding against you, his disciples answered, and yet you can ask, who touched me? It just sounded so disrespectful the way he said that. Anyways, that's how I heard it. You can ask, who touched me? But Jesus kept looking around to see who had done it. Then the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came and fell at Jesus' feet, trembling with fear, told him that the whole truth. And he said to her, listen to this very carefully, daughter, Your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering. Daughter, your faith has healed you. He didn't say, daughter, my clothes healed you. Daughter, I healed you. No, she was healed by her faith. That's what we miss so much. We think it's the pastor's fault because he didn't lay his hands on me. We think it's the pastor's fault because he didn't pray a long 4-hour prayer. The song service was only 2 songs instead of 35. No, it's about building faith. And then when you get your faith built up, she had to build up this faith. She was hearing about what Jesus can do. We talked about this at the beginning. Faith comes by what? Hearing, and hearing by the word of God. Those last 3 letters in hearing, ing, is a continuation. That's what that means. Hearing. You continue to hear. You don't stop. We'll put it this way. There is a restaurant in San Antonio that my wife and I go to that I only buy one thing from there, and if they don't have it, I will not eat. They have good food, but there's just this one thing. It's called Steak Maui. Okay, at J. Alexander's. Anybody watching the YouTube video, J. Alexander's, they can. Anyways, they marinate this thing for like a few weeks, and I don't know, in heaven. I don't know what they marinated in. It's just so juicy, has so much flavor, and I'm not a barbecue sauce kind of guy because to me it ruins the flavor of the meat. But anyways. But this is just like juicy. It's making my mouth water right now. It's just marinated for weeks and weeks. I think they said a few months. I could be wrong, but let's just go with a few months. It sounds good for my illustration. It's just marinated, and when it comes out, the way I like it cooked, I won't tell you how I like it cooked because I don't want you to gross out, but it was just so good. It's called Steak Maui. Anyways, we have to learn to marinate in his word. See, when you marinate meat, it's not just on the top. It's all inside of it. It's all inside of it. She had to marinate on the stories that were being told of what Jesus had done, the miracles he's done. Had to think about it constantly. Not think about, she's bleeding. I would rather die. Lord, take me now, please. I don't know if y'all have ever felt like that when you're not feeling good. I've had moments like that. And she could have done all that. I don't know, maybe. But when she heard the word of Jesus, she marinated on those stories, playing them over and over and over in her mind. Also saying to herself, you know what? He's coming. If I could just touch the hem of his garment, I know I'll be healed. She had to keep saying that over and over in her mind as somebody was stepping on her hand because she was crawling. If I just touch the hem of his garment, I'll be healed. If I just touch the hem of his garment, I know that I'll be healed. Probably had to say it out loud and hear herself saying it because she had doubts coming in her mind trying to stop her for moments, just moments before she got her miracle. How many times have we seen people quit going to church right before their miracle? I'll give you another example. I was a welder. That's what I did right out of high school. I really loved it. I wanted to make a career out of it. And I didn't get along with a lot of the guys in the shop. I was the only white dude there, and they didn't like white dudes. And they would steal tools and do all kinds of stuff. And just wasn't getting along with them. And I was a young, dumb kid. Didn't know how to process all that. It was my first full-time job out of high school, and I made some mistakes. Anyways, I ended up quitting. I had an ultimatum. Either I learn how to deal with some things or quit or I get fired, one of those 3. So I decided I was going to quit. Did you know that very next week, and I had just gotten married. I forgot about that. I had just gotten married, had no money, okay? And that next week, everybody in the shop got a raise, a significant raise. If I would have just learned to be still and know, if I would have just learned how to deal with situations and people, yes, there'd be maybe times that God's telling you, move on, get another job. I get it. But in that situation, I got taught so much because, one of my good friends that was, I thought he was my good friend at the time, he was telling me, man, you should have stayed. We all got good raises, and I'm like, really? Thanks a lot. That was in my mind when I'm over here struggling. I'm having to do like 5 or 6 jobs, and I found out, never mind, later on that I was having twins, and anyways. When you operate in the God kind of faith, no one or nothing is going to stop you from obeying him. She was operating in the God kind of faith. Or I don't have time to really get into that, but she was operating in the God kind of faith. Why? By marinating in it. Can you give me that example, please? James chapter 2. I'm almost done, guys. I know you want to go barbecue. I'm going to go eat some steak. So I'll just read what I have. James chapter 2, verse 26. Thank you. Oh, and a chair, please. As the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without deeds is dead, or faith without works is dead. We come to service, we come to church, and we feel good, and we feel pumped up. Sometimes it's just a feeling, by the way. And I'm not against all that. I believe in all that. But you've got to get down to the brass tacks. You've got to get down to the core of it all. That you could lose your faith or kill your faith if it's not accompanied by action. What good is a male without a female? We can go through this again, but that's how babies happen. No matter what, you have to have a male. Even if the doctor inserts certain things, you still have to come from a male. You still have to have a female. Anyways, so I have a rope here. Did y'all know that? I have not done this in a long time. I know people look at me and think, this guy doesn't know anything. I grew up with ranchers. So I know a little bit about roping. I never was the roper because I never wanted to wear a cowboy hat and tight jeans. I wear tight jeans, but I had no cowboy hat. I draw the line. All right, anyways. Faith is a lot like this rope. We can build it up. We can make it long. We can make it strong. This is strong. It's got all kinds of coating on it. But too many times we don't put no action to it, and we wonder, God, why hasn't anything happened? Because you lost it. Faith without works is dead. What good is a seed if it's not planted? I'm not talking about sunflower seeds. They're pretty good, when you chew them. But what good is that seed if you don't plant it? It doesn't do what its purpose to do. My brother used to say, he probably still says it, I feel bad when I lose screws on the garage floor. I'm like, dude, don't tell people this, what I'm about to tell you. So I'm going to tell on him. I said, what do you mean? He goes, because if I lose it and I just forget about it, it'll never do what it was designed to do. And I look at him like, I know there's a good illustration there, but please don't tell anybody that story. No, just playing. Anyways, so we build our faith. We got this rope. We got the lasso, and we're doing this. Yeah, building it up, stirring it around. No, I'm still going to screw this up. But anyways, and until we let go of it, oh, I didn't. Look at that. I'm awesome. Then we attach to what we want, our miracle. Okay? Just like when faith without works is dead, right? And you have to have mom and dad in order to have a baby. I am attached to my miracle, but do I have it? No, I don't have it yet. There's still got to be some corresponding action in order to get that to where it needs to be, which is in my possession. And I have to constantly be building up my faith, coming to church when I don't feel like it, when I don't want to, when I want to cry, when I just want to roll over in bed. I didn't get no sleep. I didn't get no sleep last night, guys, so I'm just letting you know that. So, you got to keep coming. You got to keep listening. You got to contribute. You may have a hard time giving your money, and I get it. I understand that. But do you realize the root of all evil, every kind of evil you could think of, the worst of the worst, is the love of money. Not money, the love of money. Anyways, so when you show God that you trust him with your finances, and he says, okay, you trust me? then I want you to start tithing on a regular basis. I want you, okay, you tithe and you trust me? Great, awesome. Let's get to the next level in faith, and I want you to give more above and beyond. Maybe it's given to Echo Church. Maybe it's given to another church. Maybe it's helping your loved one without a loan. Okay, anyways, you got to learn to keep trusting in God when it doesn't look right, when it seems like it's getting worse. She was getting worse. But she kept saying, no, if I just touch the hem of his garment, if I just touch the hem of his garment, if I just touch the hem of his garment, I will be healed. And she was healed. We have to learn to do that in every area of our life. Finances, our relationship with God. See, when we get saved, yes, it is to get saved to go to heaven. Absolutely. But we have to continue to be saved by faith. And here's what I mean by that. If you ask Jesus into your heart to be Lord of your life, sorry, this thing's getting on my nerves. The Bible doesn't say you have to do that every day, as long as it's a heart thing. But you have to choose every day. You have to choose God, because God chooses you every day. Every moment of the day. When that old lady's flicking you off and you want to punch her in the face. I know, it makes me look really, really bad. Like I'm a bad person. We have to learn to choose him every day. Choose the faith every single day, even when you don't want to. Even when it, I don't know why. God just keep bringing me back to finances. But that is one of the hardest things to do. It's because we work hard for our money. Outside of church, I climb trees. I take down humongous trees. I don't like it, honestly. I don't like it every day. I don't. This is not a career choice. People are like, oh, you did that for me. No, I'm doing that so I can continue to do what I do on the weekends and at nights, and that's be here at church. And I give out of that. I give out of anything and everything that comes to me because, God, you have done so much for me in my relationship with my wife. You have saved it. I can't tell you how many times you saved our marriage. I can't tell you how many times you have called somebody or you told somebody to give to us personally, and they have. I am going to give to you. And you know what? Daisy and I are the number one givers right now at Echo Church. Okay? And I'm not here to brag, but at the same time, I kind of am, because we love giving. We don't just give financially, but we give physically. We think that sometimes when it comes to church that it only happens on Sundays. No. There's a lot of preparation that happens. On top of family things that we have to do. On top of maybe moving or whatever the case may be. There's other things that happen. And I'm not here to give you a sad story. All I'm trying to tell you is everybody has a story. It's what you do with that story that matters. What did she do with that story? She said, I am going to trust God. I'm going to trust Jesus. I'm going to build my faith. I'm going to put action to my faith so I can get my healing or my miracle. You know, maybe, I need to close up. I said I was going to end a little early. But anyways, maybe you need a financial miracle, but God's telling you to let go. God's telling you to let go. He's saying, I have something right around the corner for you, but I need you to let go. First of all, before I continue, I need to thank every single person that gives. Those that give online, that are watching, all of you in here that give, I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. But I also want to make sure that you understand this. You're not giving to me. You're not even giving to this church, even though you may write a check to this church. You are giving to God. You are saying, God, I trust you, not just for my salvation, which is huge, but I trust you in every area. I trust you in my finances. I trust you in my relationships, in my career acquisitions, all this stuff. I trust you, God, wholly and completely. It may look horrible. I may be on a fixed income, but God, I know that when I obey with what you told me to obey with, that you will unfix my income and you will begin to bring